Hello everyone, Josh MC2000 here, and welcome back for another episode of Comic Book Carnage. Today we are talking about a G.I. Joe comic that I have wanted the cover for a very long time. Finally got my hands on this little number. This one has been pretty much like a holy grail in the collection for me, so I'm glad we finally managed to tick this one off the list. It was released in 2006 by Devil Jews Publishing, or DDP, and those of you that are familiar with G.I. Joe will probably know that elements of this story have been used in the IDW series multiple times, in particular a certain helicopter crash. Yep, those that are in the know probably know what we're already talking about just off of that, so let's get into it. Today we are talking about issues 1 through to 6 of Snake Eyes Declassified, which is one of Devil Jews Publishing comics for G.I. Joe. And yeah, the reason why I'm stammering with the Devil Jews Publishing is because I'm used to saying IDW when we're talking about the old Joes, so you know. And what this story did was this story served as an origin story for our boy Snake Eyes. There's a reason why Snake Eyes was on the old thumbnails, and that is because he is my favourite Joe. And, you know, naturally because of that, this one has been one I've been wanting to add to the collection for a good while. So, what is this story about? Well, it starts by showing a little bit of his home life. You know, showing where he gets his values from, which is mostly his old man. And then it progresses through to his first bits of army service. So, you know, yeah, this video is going to be quite spoiler heavy, by the way. I'm going to go quite in depth with this. Not going to be skimming over. I want to talk about this in some detail, so, you know, if you haven't read it yet, honestly, it's a pain in the ass to find this, so if you want to go find it, try your best, go find it. I don't know, to be honest, I wouldn't blame you. Not that I'm encouraging people to pirate, but if you found it easier to sail the seas under the black flag than purchasing this thing legit, then let's just say I wouldn't blame you, given the fact it's took me years to finally acquire these things, and even then it was by luck. I walked into a local second-hand toy store that also has comics, and 5 of the 6 issues were just sat there in a box. So, yeah, I managed to pick those up. I ended up paying a fair bit more than I did for those for the final issue, which, you know, but obviously you got to complete the set at that point, so, you know, I bit the bullet, completed the set, that how it be. But this story is the definitive origin for Snake Eyes, and it's something that I've wanted for ages. So, let's talk about it. It starts off with him going to Nam. This is where he meets Stalker and Tommy, i.e., you know, his 3 best buds at the time, and Tommy later becomes Storm Shadow, obviously. And what happens is, you know, they serve several tours, but each time Snake Eyes and Tommy and Stalker end up being, well, on this particular tour we see Snake Eyes, Tommy and Stalker are the only survivors. It is also implied that Tommy and Snake Eyes are the last survivors from their previous group. And when Snake Eyes is coming home, he finds out that his family got in a car wreck on the way to pick him up. So the guy's feeling really low, like rock bottom kind of low. And he's going around, he's like, you know, he's falling apart basically, he's drinking, you know, like, absolute mess. And Tommy tries to help him. Doesn't go so well, doesn't work, so Tommy leaves. But he gives him an offer. If you want to be a part of my family, if you want what you've lost, come to me. I'm leaving for Japan in a few days. I will pay for the ticket, everything myself. So he leaves, and then Snake Eyes bumps into this guy. Now, you see, this guy later becomes Cobra Commander, so the plot thickens, as they say. And, well, basically how this works is you get to see not only the origins of Snake Eyes, but you see like the very early origins of Cobra. It literally starts off as like a group of like disenfranchised Vietnam vets that are causing trouble, kind of like, you know, starting their own little revolution, shall we say. And that's kind of how that works. But, you know, he asks him, basically, Cobra Commander was a family relation, I can't remember which family relation, to the guy that was in the other car, the drunken driver. But the reason he was drunk and driving was because he'd had pretty much everything taken from him by this other individual, and like basically he gets him to try and kill him, basically, Snake Eyes. He gives him the gun and he refuses. He walks away, and he obviously doesn't see the guy since. Now here's the thing, we also find out the origin of Snake Eyes as well, the name Snake Eyes. It comes from his dad, actually. It's something his dad says to him. Because his dad's talking about, you know, like stuff to do with like if you're going out there to war, you know, keep the faith. And he says, I'm not sure about faith anymore, I think all I got is luck. And he says, then if all you're relying on is luck, I wish you all the luck in the world. Snake Eyes, you know, like, it's kind of like the I'm not entirely sure, like, you know, it's a term that is thrown about in that conversation. I'm not entirely sure the exact connotation of how it was used, because I read this thing a few days ago. This is recorded a few days after reading, so I'm not exactly... And I've done other videos since, so I've had other comics on the brain, so I'm not 100% on some of the finer details. Like, yeah, you forget some of the finer stuff quite quickly, but you remember a lot of the key points. But this basically leads to him eventually joining the Arashikage, and then the majority of the book from there is about his training under the Hard Master and him working alongside Tommy, and how he becomes a ninja. And then obviously we get the cause of death of the Hard Master towards the last couple of issues, and it's actually quite interesting, actually, because he mimics... Here's the thing, there's an arrow that locks onto Snake Eyes' heart using this piece of technology, but the Hard Master mimics his heartbeat, so it goes through him instead, which is like, yeah, it's a interesting detail, I must admit. It's other shows in that sense have done kind of this story, but they've normally always done that differently. They've not kept that original detail. But yeah, this is kind of like, if you look over it, this is the origin story used in a lot of stuff. I mean, even Renegade, that was a kid's cartoon, used elements of that, which was quite surprising, actually. I mean, they definitely did the stuff with the Hard Master differently, though. And they also used that to explain how Snake Eyes lost his voice as well. In Renegade, he took a sharp across his throat. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, talking more about the adaptation. To be fair though, Snake Eyes Declassified is a story I would love to see adapted, but I'd love to see it done correctly. Like, I don't know, it's one of those. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd be able to do Vietnam anymore. I think you might need to update that, but that's what they tend to do in the comics anyway. These days it tends to be Afghanistan they use, because it's the more recent conflict. Now, the next thing I was going to talk about is the fact that after this, he goes and joins the Joes, and there's the helicopter crash that has been aped in pretty much loads of different versions, and the whole thing with him coming out carrying Scarlet, you know, like, that imagery has been used in loads of IDW comics. Like, I think I own, like... I haven't been collecting IDW for the whole run, but here's the thing. I can pick about... I can probably pick 3 out of my collection that uses imagery from Declassified. In terms of, like, the helicopter crash. And then it kind of like, it also kind of shows him suiting up for the first time in the traditional suit, and then that's the end of the comic. And yeah, you know, me kind of giving you a brief synopsis like that, it might not sound like much, and you know, but it's been used for pretty much nearly every single Snake Eyes origin story since, and I think it says a lot, because it's probably... It adds a lot to the character, you know, like the idea of like, it's a very tragic kind of backstory, because, you know, he blames himself for all the people that have died kind of on his watch, you know, for a time he even blamed himself for that car wreck, you know, like it adds a lot to the character, and it gives angles and directions you can go with Snake Eyes. I mean, hell, the twist of he used to be friends with Cobra Commander as well is, well, he doesn't know it's Cobra Commander. He doesn't know. But, that could be, like, if you're writing a G.I.Joe comic, you could drop an absolute clanger, using that. You know, it opens up all sorts of potential story avenues. And, like, honestly, I just think we need to get a good adaptation of Declassified already. Whether it's an animated film, a film, like, I absolutely loved G.I.Joe Resolute, which was an Adult Swim thing done before the live action films, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's what it was. I don't know. I know it's an animated thing that was on Adult Swim, I think, originally. But that's about it. It's like a G.I. Joe thing. It also has one of the best Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow fights. I'd love them to do something like that, in terms of that animation style, but with using the material from G.I. Joe Declassified. That would be brilliant. Speaking of which, guys, I'm not sure what I'm going to use in the background of this. I want to get this up quickly, so I don't know. It may be something G.I. Joe related, it may not be, I don't know, we shall see. I want to get this up quickly in between the two future state stuff. I want to get this up quickly in between some of the future state stuff I'm doing, just kind of give you guys a break from all the DC future state. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.